Adam Zielinski had some things to say on cloud adoption. Daniel, what's he
Yeah,
talking?
it was interesting, Pat. This article was a few days old, but since it was a quieter week, I pulled it out and I'm like, it's really interesting because this conversation's been happening more and more for me. And I think you in advisory and different sessions, where we're talking and, even that 30% that we kind of hear, 25, 30% of workloads being in the public cloud seems to be more reflective of all workloads, including, things that aren't enterprise workloads, your kind of homemade SaaS type of, I would say homemade SaaS, like games and other things that people do. When you look at the IT, Adam actually said in the CNBC piece, he's like, call it 10%.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because everybody's been wondering, like, where are we on this cloud adoption journey? Are we in the first inning? Are we in the fifth inning? We're definitely not in the ninth inning, if you're using baseball as an analogy. But, Adam basically said it's day one, and he used the number of 10%. And I'm like, this is really interesting. And by the way, it goes really well with that topic we just talked about, basically saying the reason we're only at 10% is because the vast majority of companies' critical enterprise workloads are still run on-prem. And you're talking about the big database workloads, the big ERP workloads. And this is why this kind of symbiotic relationship across IT OEMs, your HPEs, Dells, IBMs, Cisco's, your software providers, your Oracles and SAPs, and at Microsoft on their software side, and then your hyperscalers has become more of this interweb or intertwined web of a relationship that isn't going to be like, hey, it was just as easy. We always kind of made the joke, swipe a credit card, spin up a workload, and run your business. But that's really not the case. I mean, you're seeing Salesforce building out a Hyperforce hybrid platform. You're talking about a company that basically was born on the idea that you don't need infrastructure. Now going back and saying, well, maybe in order to do things right, you might need some infrastructure. You're going to need a platform layer. You're going to need to be able to connect a third party. You're seeing, born on cloud data warehouses like Snowflake going to Dell and saying, hey, let's work together so that your storage and our cloud-based data warehouse can integrate seamlessly for the user. Bottom line is this, is he's right. It's early innings. And this is the beautiful thing that everybody I want to take away from this topic is the cloud's going to grow a lot. Public cloud is, and you just look at the growth metrics, you're seeing Oracle over 30%, Google over 30%, AWS over 30%, and Azure over 30%, and some closer to 50%. And so we're all having this little cloud war. Who's growing and who's growing the fastest and what's going on? Those are just some of the hyperscalers. But the point is that they're all growing. And they're all growing at a fairly good clip, not necessarily, and nobody's eating each other's lunch. And that's the most interesting thing. Yes, the basic arithmetic on something like this is that if AWS is growing 40 and Google is growing 30, AWS is continuing to create a gap. But what I don't think is happening as much as people want to believe is that these companies are trading out and swapping and people are leaving one and moving to the other. It's kind of an aggregate. It's an additive where people are adding workloads on other clouds to hit their multi-cloud strategies. And B, they're growing overall by, strategically moving workloads and adding workloads that companies didn't have before. So like I said, the news piece was small, but the idea that we're at 10% of really the enterprise IT really struck me. And I thought Adam's comments about being very early are really important for the market to understand because the cloud maturity, while the tech has come a long way, enterprises have a very long way to go. The new architectures are not going to be all in cloud or all in prem. They will be hybrid. And companies like AWS have built a really great mousetrap. But you know what? There are many great mousetraps. And that's going to create a bigger market, a more competitive workspace, more innovation. And I think even in our recessionary environment or the pullback environment we're in, lots to believe that cloud will continue to grow. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, buddy.
Welcome back to the show, Pat. What's up?
My dogs keep moving around here. I'm trying to, for the sake of the
All good.
Yeah, it's the joys of being on the road. So, it's funny. This was a CNBC article and interview with Kramer on Mad Money. I read the article, Daniel, and stop doing your email. Pay attention to me. I'm saying
I'm muted. Just
okay. All right. No, when I first read the article, Daniel, I thought that this was a warning in a way. Is this Adam saying, "Hey, our future growth won't be there, but there's a huge opportunity"? There's a lot to unpack here, and I hate to over rotate on what was said, but quite frankly, what Adam was talking about has been our talk track for a long time, which is this is the very beginning of it. IBM uses a number that's 75% of the data. I believe that 10% number is the amount of applications. Okay, if you're Bank of America, you have applications. You might have 5,000 applications that it's going to take you time to move over. But Adam is correct. This is the first inning of a cloud model, and cloud model essentially defined as an operating model and the type of open software that you use, whether it's containers, whether it's serverless. I'm kind of wondering if VMs in the cloud is a cloud model, but I think if you approach it from a DevOps model, I guess you could call that cloud. But listen, it was nice to see Adam get out there and talk about it being the early innings. I was amused by the writer of this article essentially not talking about the profitability that AWS brings into Amazon. All the writer talked about was the revenue that was
17%.
No, I know. Isn't that funny? It's like completely disconnected from the reality.
What is that? 150% of profit?
It's 100 plus. I don't know the exact number. I track it every quarter, but I don't have that in front of me. But I just, anyways, I thought that was amusing.